Kathy, and I want to thank you so much for watching my channel, Krafty Kathy. If this is the first time that you've ever stopped by my channel, thank you so much for stopping in to check me out. And if you're returning, you guys know I love you from the bottom of my heart. Guys, I have a few new things that I want to talk to you about. You know, since I came back from vacation last week, I realized that my craft room was a total disaster. So I did a little remake, and I actually put some pictures and stuff up on the wall, which has been a long time coming. You know, my craft studio is only about maybe 2 to 3 months old, and we haven't even put pictures up on the wall yet. So now I feel more like it's more homey and it's more me. And I'm so thankful that I actually stopped for a minute and cleaned it up because it was a tornado. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a little bit of what we done because I want you guys to be a part of every step of this channel because you are the channel. If I didn't have you, I wouldn't have a channel, and I'm so thankful for you guys. And by the way, we are growing so fast, guys. I am so thankful. And with that being said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider subscribing and becoming a part of our little family here on YouTube. Our motto is, we got love because we love each other. Our community is very sweet to each other. We pray for each other. We have a lot of love. And we have laughs because it's always a hoot around here. And not to mention, we have the DIYs. So our little motto is, we got love and laughs and DIYs. Sorry guys, I had to put my glasses on. I can't see a thing. I'm going to try to keep the ring light from showing up in them. This week's video came about because I'm in several Facebook groups that are like the Farmhouse Facebook DIY, something like that. And a lot of people are asking about these foam pumpkins that come out every year at Dollar Tree. And they're like, what are y'all doing with those foam pumpkins? Or what can we do with these foam pumpkins besides just paint them? Like, what are y'all doing with them? So it hit me and I was like, a lot of people really don't know different things that they can do with these things. So that's what this video is about. I'm going to show you a couple of ways that I came up to do some of these pumpkins. And for those of you who already know a bunch of ways to do these pumpkins, stick around anyways, just because, well, you love me. Or, I mean, you may see something that you've not seen before, or I may show you one that you're like, oh, I could do that with that foam pumpkin. I didn't think about that. So just stick around. And that reminds me, lately I've been thinking that I want to do a live with you guys, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, so we can interact. I do every week on the camera like this, but I'm talking into a camera, and I would love to be able to talk to you guys. Like, y'all probably know by my comments, a lot of times I write a book back to you because I love to talk. I love to talk to y'all. Y'all are my buddies. Y'all are my friends. I don't get out much anymore. But anyways, let me know in the comments if that sounds like something good to you. So we won't take up any more of your time, but I brought on the executive producer so we could sing our silly little theme song because it's the only thing we got left to do. Are you ready to sing the silly little theme song with me? Are you ready to sing? On our channel, we got love and laughs and DIYs. We got some love and laughs and DIYs. We got love and laughs and DIYs. We got love and laughs and DIYs. Yeah. And we got some pugs in ties. Yeah. Hoo-hoo-hoo, baby. Yeah. He just sneezed on my face. The joy of having a pug. Nasty. That's the reason the little squirt didn't sing. He had to sneeze the whole time. I'm glad my face could help. Let's jump into DIY number 1. I have 2 of the foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, And I'm just going to take all of the little stems off of them. And be careful, because when you pull that tag off, sometimes you can, you know, kind of mess them up a little bit. You don't want that. And this pumpkin has a little ridge on it. Do you see where I'm pointing right here? It's just, it probably doesn't bother anybody, but it kind of bothered me. So I figured instead of using just regular chalk paint, I'm going to take it up a notch, and I'm going to add a little baking soda to thicken up my chalk paint to try to cover up that ridge. I never measure my paint whenever I'm mixing it up with the baking soda. I think other people use a 1-to-1 ratio, but I just mix it up until I think it looks like it's the consistency that I want. I'm using the color called Sheepskin by Home Decor. I just mixed it up, and I'm going to paint both of my pumpkins with just one good thick coat. After I got both of them painted, I used my little craft dryer to paint them. But if you do use the baking soda, just be careful not to use that craft dryer too close to that pumpkin, because you will crack that paint. I'm just letting you know some of the mistakes that I've made in the past. That way, you know, it can save you from having to redo your pumpkin when you crack your paint. I actually had to throw one of my pumpkins away because I saw other people use spray paint on these things, but I think I used it too close. And look at this pumpkin, guys. It looks like I burned it or something. It looked crazy. So anyways, I've got this beautiful napkin. Look at this beautiful farmhouse napkin we're going to use. Now, you know, with the napkins, you have to open them up, and you've got 4 seams. This one actually had 3 plies, and you want to take your plies off because you only want that top ply. So I just simply cut off one of the seams because we only need one. Then I figured out my placement on my pumpkin. And I like to use water to separate the seams because that way it doesn't have such a straight edge, and it just looks more natural that way. I put my layer of Mod Podge down, and then I used a brush just to blend it in real good because I didn't want a goopy thick layer. And then I laid my napkin down, and I start from the middle, and I start to kind of push it and kind of let it fall where it wants to. If you don't force it, you will have little to no wrinkles. And the big secret is to use saran wrap. Now, the saran wrap is because you can actually touch it, and it will not pull that napkin back away on your fingers. After I got it down, I wet a paintbrush and went back around the edges so that they would look more natural and not be like a perfect square. I'm going to use a color called King's Gold by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to start off by just blending it all the way around the picture and just kind of blending in that yellow that's on the napkin to the yellow that I'm using. And then I just continued all the way around the pumpkin, and I just gave it one good coat. I'm going to use Apple Barrel Chocolate Bar to paint a cork, this brown color. And when I finish painting the cork, I'm going to use my craft dryer to dry it, and then I'm going to stick it in the top of the pumpkin for the stem. Then I took the red pit berries from the Dollar Tree, and I just wrapped them around a pin to make it look like the little curly tendrils of the pumpkin, and then I just wrapped it around the cork and cut it and then fixed it the way that I wanted it. I wasn't able to find raffia this year, so what I've been using is one of those child-sized hula skirts that was at the Dollar Tree in the summer, and then I took just a few strands of that off, and I just wrapped it around the cork as well. Then I take my white wax, which is DIY brand, and all you do is you just wipe a little bit of this on your pumpkin, and then you wipe it right back off, and it creates this gorgeous natural effect where it just kind of lightens it up, and it's really pretty. Of course, you don't have to do this step, but it just gives it another dimension and a lot of texture and layers. It's just really pretty. And to finish my pumpkin off, I chose these cute little white, they look like little white wildflowers. They just looked very farmhouse and country to me. And I just glued a couple of those to the top. And I have this beautiful, gorgeous farmhouse pumpkin. I thought this pumpkin was adorable, but I did not quite like the cork on the top. So I swapped it out for just one of those stick pieces that they had at the Dollar Tree. And I added some more raffia too because I felt like it was missing something. This is absolutely my favorite of all of my foam pumpkins now. Of course, because it has the chicken. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that little red button and that bell and then click all. That way YouTube will let you know every time I put on a video and you'll be part of our little family. All right, this one is the easiest foam pumpkin. You don't even have to paint this guy. We're going to use a shirt to create a beautiful, shabby, chic, gorgeous pumpkin. The easiest spot to get the material that I needed was going to be in the sleeve, so I cut the shirt off at where the armpit would be, and then I realized that I needed to cut it off at the bottom too because this was a long sleeve shirt, and you really don't need that much material. So I opened it back up and I'm going to make the hole in the top of my pumpkin. And basically all you have to do is just tuck the shirt inside that hole, and there's going to be several places that you have to kind of manipulate, and there may be a few spots where you need to put just a dab of glue so that it will lay down correctly. And then after that, I just stuck a twig in the top. Then I took some of that black wire that comes from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section. It's not hard wire, but you can wrap it around your paintbrush and make the little tendrils. Then I just wrapped it around the cork of the pumpkin. When I wrapped it, the little curly cues came undone, so I just used my finger and the paintbrush to just kind of get it the way that I wanted it, and then I put a couple dabs of glue so that it would stay put. I had some of the lamb's ear that comes from Walmart, and I pulled off a couple of the leaves, and I'm just going to stick these to the top. And I'm going to add a couple of my small solo wood flowers. I have one that's already painted a pale yellow color and I put it on. And then I have this blush pink by Apple Barrel. And what I do is just spray a little squirt of water on the flower and then put the paint right on it instead of dunking it and doing all that. And I find it so much easier. And I just glued my little solo wood flowers to the top, and I still felt like it needed something. So I added a beautiful jewel that came from my Totally Dazzled. And I'm going to leave that down below because a lot of people ask me where I get my Totally Dazzled at. And I absolutely love them, and I love to finish up a lot of my DIYs with them. It's easy and inexpensive and a beautiful result. We're moving fast to pumpkin number 3. When I was in Florida, I found that blue and white plaid tissue paper from the Dollar Tree that I had been looking for everywhere. So we're going to put this plaid color tissue paper on the top of that other white pumpkin that I painted at the first of the video. I felt the best way to get this tissue paper on my pumpkin was to cut it in about 1.5 inch strips. After I had them all cut down in the strips, then I took those strips and cut them in half. I put Mod Podge down on my pumpkin again, a thin layer, just like with the napkin, and then I laid down the gift paper just like I did the napkin. I kind of let it go as it wanted to, and I pushed in those ridges. Then I used my little Mod Podge roller because that helps get out the wrinkles too. I went all the way around this pumpkin and got the whole thing covered. And then at the very end, there was a few places where I had to fill in with little squares. I didn't need the whole strip anymore. I only needed squares. And the places where I did have to patch it up, you couldn't even tell because it's plaid and it all goes together and it looked perfectly natural. I also found that sometimes instead of using that roller, it was very effective to use the end of my paintbrush and roll it with that because it fits perfectly in the little ridges of the pumpkin. When I got it covered and let it dry, I took those little jewel tone stickers, I think they're called, from the Dollar Tree. And you know they come off in a long strip. And I just went all the way around to each of those ridges and put them down inside each ridge. I really think this color goes very well with that dark blue. It's almost like an amber color. I took some of the floral foam and I cut it and I stuffed 3 different pieces down in the middle part of my pumpkin because it's hollow. Then I took some of that Spanish moss and I put it all around the top of the pumpkin. And then after that, I took some of these beautiful blue peonies that I got from Dollar Tree and I cut them off of the stems. And I took some more of that hula skirt that I'm using and laid it down across the top. And I've got some ferns that come from Walmart and I cut them off of the stem and I just start sticking those in there one by one. And then I'm going to add some of those beautiful blue peonies. I just think that color is so pretty for fall this year. I must admit, I've never thought of navy blue as a fall color, but it is probably the most popular color this year, as a matter of fact, in home decor. So I just kind of made my little bouquet here, and it turned out so pretty. I had some more small flowers called bittersweet. They came from the Dollar Tree. I cut them off of their stems and I cut them kind of tall and I started sticking them toward the middle part because you always want your tallest stems in the middle. And it just turned out being a beautiful bouquet with that navy and the yellow and the red. It was just perfect. And then I have some cute little owl wood pieces that come from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to take the King's Gold again, which is that yellow color from Apple Barrel, and I'm going to paint one of them with that. Then I just took some of the Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm going to go all around my owl with that. I'm going to use my little short chippy brush. A lot of people have asked me about those brushes, and guys, they are totally out of stock on Amazon. I have it, you know, in my Amazon store, but they've been out of stock for a while. So I just go all the way around my owl, and then I got crazy and went down in the middle, and I realized how pretty it looked when it blended in with that yellow, and I just added a lot. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back and put it right in the center of my little pumpkin. I didn't show it on camera, but I added a couple of those little white pip berries and some yellow cattails, and guys, this thing turned out so pretty. For DIY number 4, we are going to use this beautiful chicken fabric that my best friend Kathy Jo DIY sent me, and I'm going to send a link to her channel down below. So what I did was I took some of this truffle chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to thicken it up just a little bit with my baby powder that has talc in it. And like I said, I don't have a ratio. I just put a little bit of each. If I had to say a ratio, I guess it'd be 1 to 1. I wanted it to be kind of thick, so I painted my pumpkin with the truffle paint. Now, this pumpkin was a little bit thick, and it had like one of those big pieces, like a crater piece missing out of it. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. After I painted it, I let it dry completely,
And then I took some of that spackle that comes from the Dollar Tree, and I just put a little bit of water with it, mixed it up, and that's what I used to fill in that little like crater type area. I let it totally dry overnight, but while that part was drying, I could go ahead and finish the rest of the pumpkin. I decided what to do was cut out each of the chickens, and I cut out 2 different ones, and what I'm going to do is Mod Podge the chicken onto the pumpkin. I used a fairly good amount of Mod Podge because this is fabric. It's a little bit thicker than what I had been using, and we definitely want it to stick to that pumpkin. So I just put a big mess of it down, and then I wiped it around with my paintbrush, and then I used my fingers to kind of smooth that pumpkin into the little ridges, and then I used my fingers to make sure that Mod Podge was sealing, you know, around the edges of my fabric. I used my little Mod Podge roller too, just to make sure that I had a really good connection there and that it was going to stick well. Then I flipped my pumpkin over and did the exact same thing with the other little chicken. And I used my fingers. A lot of times I do that because I just feel like sometimes your fingers are more appropriate to use than a paintbrush. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the old Southern girl in me just jump in there and get it done. I don't care if I get messy, but I know that when I'm using my fingers, I can actually feel that there's a good seal taking place from that Mod Podge. And not to mention, you can push it down in the ridges a lot better if you use your fingers. Now here we are the next morning, and the early morning sun was coming right through my window, so I had to move my camera over a little bit, and I'm sorry for the angle. I hope it's okay. And this is where it's totally dry, I am painting it over with that truffle paint. I started off using one of those sponge paint brushes, and then it just really wasn't doing the job like I needed it to. So I swapped over to my little chippy brush, the little small chippy brushes that I like to distress with. And that was so much better. And then I decided after I filled in those little, or colored in the crater pieces, that I was going to go around the chickens and almost like, kind of like highlight the picture. I went all the way around the pumpkin and distressed in a couple of places and all the way around the chickens. And then I took a couple of those pieces of fabric that I had that were cut out, and they look like little jewels or something. And so I cut those out, and I'm going to Mod Podge those onto my pumpkin also. I just felt like those 2 bare spots needed to be filled in because I only put 2 chickens on there, 1 on each side. So then in the other 2 spots, I just put those little medallions or jewel looking pieces on there. I used that truffle chalk paint to color another one of those corks, and then I put it in my pumpkin, but of course later on I decided that I didn't like that cork in there, and so I took it out, and I had gotten another one of those little stick pieces that you get from the Dollar Tree, and that's what I eventually used as the stem. I attached 2 leaves on the top of my pumpkin, and here I just cut a couple pieces of that small 1-inch ribbon that comes from the Dollar Tree that has different color leaves on it, and I'm going to make a messy bow. So what I do is make an X formation with my bow, and in no particular order, I'm just going to place a few pieces of that hula skirt, which it's kind of raffia, you know. Put the raffia down in no particular order, and then I'm also putting that ribbon down now in no particular order. And then I'm just going to tie it really tight together. I got this bow from off of Amber Strong. I love her DIY. She's awesome, and she makes some really pretty messy bows like this. I'm going to link her channel down below, and all I do is take my little messy bow and glue it to the top. Then I just cut off the longer piece of raffia just to make it look the way that I wanted it to. I take 2 more red leaves and I'm going to glue those 2 together and put those in the very back where they're going to be standing up behind the stem. And to finish this pumpkin off, I take a little wooden leaf that I got off of Amazon. I will link those below because everybody's been loving those. And first I painted it truffle. And once I put it on my pumpkin, I didn't like it. So I added a little bit of red to it and made it kind of a maroon color. And I ended up liking that so much better. All I did was take a little bit of that truffle, and then I used that Waverly color called Lacquer, which is almost a maroon color itself, and that's the color that I painted my little leaf. And then I just kind of highlighted a couple little spots around that pumpkin with that maroon color, and that was it. Wouldn't you know that I just love this one too with the chickens? Guys, this is the last one, and I saved the best for last. You wouldn't believe all the mishaps that happened with this one. My goodness. I've got 2 pumpkins that I cut in half, and I'm going to paint all of them with the Waverly Moss chalk paint. Since I'm using this dark color, I only had to do 1 coat. And then after I painted all of them, I dried them with my craft dryer. And snap! All right, guys, I've already got them painted and dried, and I even got on my Cricut and made grateful, thankful, and blessed signs, which I'm weeding right now. This is where I had one of the mishaps. It only happens to me, I think, but I was weeding one of my signs, and it got stuck to the other one, pulled the letters off, and I was like, you're kidding me, right? So I had to hook everything back up. We were in the middle of the lights going on and off because, you know, in Tennessee, we're having these terrible storms right now. And I was like, Lord, please just let me get this done, you know. So anyways, I finally got it done. Then I'm going to lay these down on my pumpkins without thinking that, you know, I just painted those pumpkins. Of course, they were dry, but guess what? You can't put tape down on foam, Kathy. Like, really? I must have been hanging around my chickens too long because I'm a bird brain. So some of the tape made the paint come up, but it was no big deal. I just went right back over it with the moss and dried it again. Then I took my antique wax, and I'm going in the ridges of this pumpkin. And I'm just doing that to distress it, give it a little bit of color, and that was really pretty the way that that turned out. And in some spots, I used my finger to really rub it in, and man, it just really brought it to life. I'm telling you, that finger thing is going to catch on because it really works. I've got one of those wreath forms from the Dollar Tree that looks like a wagon wheel, and I just took a piece of ribbon and I'm going to put that around the middle part of this. I'm going to glue it to the middle part because I'm going to have something for my little pumpkins to stick to. So I just put that right around the middle part and glued it down. And those of you who watch me often know how much I love my barnwood. So I have a piece of barnwood that I'm just going to glue right to that ribbon. And then I'm going to glue my little pumpkins to the barnwood. And we're going to do thankful, grateful, blessed in that order. Then I take a Dollar Tree wreath garland and I'm going to wrap that around the barnwood. First, I tried to wrap it in and out of that wagon wheel, and it just didn't look right. It looked a lot better when I wrapped it around the barnwood. So after I got that settled, I cut off a couple of these orange-colored mums that come from the Dollar Tree, and I just put one right down in the center of each of my little pumpkins. Then I've got some of those beige-colored florals. They look like burlap mums to me. I'm not sure, but I'm going to put some of those in the top also. Then there's just a couple little places here or there. I had to take a few little extra leaves that had fallen off or whatever, and I'm just gluing them in spots where they're going to look right. Then I took a piece of that Indian corn, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of it and put it down on the very side of that barn wood that's sticking out. Then I added a couple more of the orange mums. Then I've got this cute little owl that came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue him right in the top. And then I just took a little bit of the Spanish moss, and I'm going to put it in between the pumpkins. Not a lot, just enough to give it a little bit of, you know, just to let you know that it's there. And then I'm just going to add a little bit around the tops too, like in front of the flowers, just for a little added touch. And then I've got this wheat that I bought off of Amazon. I'll try to link it. I think it is linked in my Amazon store already. It's so soft and so pretty. It's this pretty green color. And I put about 4 little sprigs up in the very top. This DIY went so fast and smooth on camera, and it was nothing like that in real life. But it was worth every second of it because look how pretty it turned out. I'm so very, very happy with this one. I think that it's got to be my favorite one. Well, no, the chicken. Well, this one. I don't know. What do you think? Now here's my cleaned up craft room.
This is my main little area where I take my pictures and stuff, and this is where I stage a lot of my pictures and everything, and I just put up some of my fall stuff over here. And this wall doesn't really have anything yet. It will, trust me. You guys remember the farmhouse that I did not long ago? And the grateful, that was in my very first fall video. This was from back in the summer, and that one, that was shabby chic. This one was actually from last year. And then I just filled this shelf that I had with just some of my favorite little things, you know. And there's my bless sign. That's one of my most favorite things that I've ever done on my channel. And this was a long time ago when I did the grateful sign, and the thankful, grateful, blessed wasn't too long ago. There's my cottage core clock. And you guys remember the 3 little boxes there with the chicken wire. Amazing Grace, I did that maybe a month or 2 ago. This was one of the first DIYs I ever made on my channel last year, last October. So it's almost a year old, and it's crazy. I love to put this stuff up on my wall so I can look back and just see how far I've come, because I look at this now and it just doesn't have enough to me. Like, if I was to redo it, I would have all kinds of stuff going on over here and over here because I like to overdo it most of the time. But it's just simple and sweet, and it's still beautiful. And I kept it just because it's a beautiful reminder. And there's my door that I did. I was copying Kathy Joe's in a challenge where it was Try It Tuesday that Sammy does, where you try something that somebody else has done that you really like. There's my lighted pumpkin that I did not long ago in a video, and one of my tiered trays. There's my beautiful baby Kason, the love of my life, my grandson. This is a old DIY that I done. And this one was a chicken that I done a few months ago, pretty much. And then that one was a few months ago. That one was a few months ago. This one was, oh wow, a long time ago. Back when I think my channel had about 400 or 500 subscribers when I did that one. And this one was one that I just did last week. Give thanks for a little and you'll find a lot. There's the tiered tray that I did just a few weeks ago. And guys, if y'all haven't seen any of these videos, go back and look them up. And you can see all the videos I did. And of course, these are my pumpkins that I'm working on for this video. And I keep my little station right there with pins and stuff really close to me so I can grab it. And yeah, this is my setup for right now. And I just keep some of my favorite little knickknacks in the window. And of course, it's all fall stuff. That truck is one of my favorite things. And it's just from the Dollar Tree, y'all. And I painted it and put the little pumpkins in the back. And I've got my grateful sign right there because I always want to remember to be grateful for everything. And it's getting dark here at my house. You can probably see the chickens as they're going into their coop for the night. When it starts to get nighttime or evening, they automatically go in by themselves. They know what to do. They're so smart. And all I have to do is go close the door. This is a thankful pumpkin that I did last year. Let's see. These are some pictures of my family. That's my best friend. One of my best friends, Carrie. We've been friends for, wow, I couldn't tell you guys, since we were around teenage years. That's my grandmother and my grandfather, and that is my aunt when she was a baby. This is my mother right here when she was a little baby. A lot of you guys compliment my skin and stuff, and that's where I get it from, is my grandpa. He's Cherokee. And that's my uncle. And if you can see my mother, she had the most beautiful colored skin you've ever seen. Little dark hair. Oh, she was beautiful. Now, my grandma, her people were from Wales. So my grandmother had the black hair, but she was, you know, white as white could be. And yeah, so I told you, there goes the little late one there that's always at the end of the pack. She's going into the coop for the night. She's like, well, I might as well get on up this hill. Ain't got nothing else to do. Time to hit the hay. This is one that I did not long ago. I guess it's been about 6 months ago, maybe. Let's see. This is one that I did for a challenge with Amber Michon. And I don't even remember why I did that one. I think it was a Try It Tuesday where it was something that Sammy Beltry had done. And do you guys remember Henrietta from when my channel first began? And she used to, the little chicken that would pop up and it would giggle whenever I would tell a silly joke. Well, there she is. I put her up there because I always wanted to remember, you know, that's when the channel started and it was fresh. And I'll have to put her back in there every once in a while. And of course, there's my grandson again. And there's my son and his wife and the baby. That was at his first birthday. I think that picture is just too much for me. I just absolutely love it. If you guys remember, I did this. You can't see it because of the little thing there, but I did this, I don't know, 5-6 months ago at least. It was the little pig, and it had those tiny little mason jars in there, and I love peonies, so I always do those. And here is the blessings box, y'all. It's up here right as I walk in my door every day. That's the first thing I see whenever I walk in is the blessings box. And in case you guys don't know what the blessings box is, anytime that you ask me for prayer, I put your prayer or even just your name. If you say, you know, I don't want to tell, you know, I don't want to tell you, but I just need prayer, I'll put your name in this box right here. And I pray for you. So I love you guys, and I want y'all to know that. That's my paint center. There's nothing new there. I tried to straighten up some stuff here, but y'all, I got so much stuff. Like, it's here. My husband took all of my flowers and made this huge styrofoam wall, and it's got all the flowers stuck in it. It's a big old piece of styrofoam that has all the flowers stuck in it. It's not a bad idea, matter of fact. When we get it a little bit more cleaned up looking, I'll show it to you because it's a really good idea. A lot of us crafters have a truckload of flowers that we don't know what to do with. Well, I think he got the perfect solution. Y'all, look at this. I mean, good grief. I've got it, y'all. I've got so much crafting stuff that, I mean, I don't know what to do with. This is a pretty big room, and I filled it up, and filled it up really fast. I had to take a lot of my glass stuff out because I had so much glass stuff. I was like, where did all this come from? But anyways, and then I've even got stuff down there.
This is the crate that I did just in my last video, the farmer's market. And I didn't show you guys the one pumpkin that I had where I put cardstock on it that is music. I think those are really pretty. That's a good idea. It doesn't have a stem in it at the moment. But I stuck it in there with everything. I think those are really pretty, especially if you're a music lover. And here's another idea that I did last year. On the front of it, it says, count your blessings. And I did that with a Cricut. It says, count your blessings. And then you make your little pumpkins. And I've got Sab and Juno. Those are the dogs. That's my son's dog, Juno. And then Sabby, of course. We've got Aubrey, which is my daughter. And then Kason is my grandson. Then the bigger pumpkins, we got Papaw and Gran. That's me and my husband. Alex and Reagan. That's my son and his wife. So I thought to put the adults on a bigger pumpkin and the kids on a smaller one. And then the dogs are even on a smaller one. I actually got that idea from White Sparrow. You know, Wendy at Sparrow. I love her channel. It's White Sparrow. If you guys, I'll link it down below. If y'all haven't seen her, you will love her. And then my basket that I made with some beautiful fall decor in it, and then that's just some stuff that I'm going to be using. That's my cottage core goose that I made not long ago. But that's it, guys. I took a lot of stuff out of here, y'all, because I just had so much stuff. I didn't know what to do with it. Honestly, it adds up so quick. But anyways, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. And Sabby loves y'all. He loves y'all so much that his tie has spun all the way around and done a 360. Say bye-bye. Say I love you guys. I love you. We love y'all. And we'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye. Hey, girls. I've been missing you. Where have you been? Where have y'all been? Hey, Penny. Hey, beautiful. Hey, babies. Are you hungry? Oh, Loretta's looking for some mealworms. I don't have them in my hand, Loretta. I don't have any, girls. Watch when I go in the door. She usually walks up to the door and starts pecking on it. She's going, where'd Mom go? She keeps walking in that box thing. Yeah, she's gonna come over here and peck on the door. It's exactly what she's doing. You can see her shadow move when she pecks. I'll come out in a minute, Penny. All right, see you then. I'll be out in a minute. I told y'all, she comes and pecks on the door. Don't think I'm lying. She's a nut. Look at her. Retta ran across the thing. She tried to come across the pool. Look at her bottom. She's dripping. She saw me with the mealworms. That's hilarious looking from the back. I'm sorry. She saw me with the mealworms, and she was across the pool on the other side. And I shook the bag, and she jumped into the pool thinking she could get to the other side. And now her bottom is soaking wet. And she looks hilarious. She's even walking funny. I had to save her from the pool because a chicken, once it gets in the pool, it can't get out. I cannot believe she did that. And of course, Penny ain't leaving her mealworms. Since y'all bombarded me before I could even get in the door to my craft room, I need to talk to y'all. Penny, look what you did behind you, one of y'all. Who pooped on my floor? Who did it? Who pooped on my porch? Did you do it, Minnie? Loretta? Penny? I wiped it up, but that's not the point. The point is, I will not give you any more mealworms unless you don't do that anymore. Hey,
Look up here. I'm talking to you. Look at me. Hey, right here. Right here. I'm talking. Hey. Stop the complaining, Loretta. You do it every time. Hey, I'm the one complaining right now, okay? I know it's a tough conversation. You don't want to hear it. All you want's your mealworms. But you poop on my porch again, and I just don't know what I'll do.